Border Patrol was close by and a helicopter was patrolling overhead, but migrants still crossed the border, some even bringing children.
In recent weeks, the southern border has become a hotbed of activity, with the Lukeville port of entry remaining closed for over 2.5 weeks. Despite this closure, hundreds of migrants still somehow manage to flow across the border, coming from all corners of the world. Finally, it's been revealed how they managed to pull it off when new footage of the border wall being destroyed went viral. The border situation. Over the past several weeks, the number of migrants entering the United States through the southern border has reached unprecedented levels. It is a staggering sight to witness as hundreds of individuals, driven by various motivations, make their way across the border. But it's not just the quantity of migrants that is alarming, it's the diversity of their origins. These migrants are not solely from countries south of the border. They come from all over the world, seeking a better life or escaping dire circumstances in their home countries. This global influx adds another layer of complexity to an already complex situation. The Border Patrol agents in the Tucson sector, responsible for securing this stretch of the border, are simply overwhelmed. They are facing an unprecedented challenge as the number of migrants far exceeds their capacity to process and detain them. This overwhelming influx has stretched their resources to the limit, leaving them struggling to maintain control and effectively carry out their duties. The consequences of this overwhelming influx are far-reaching. The overcrowding in detention facilities has become a major issue, with reports of unsanitary conditions and limited access to basic necessities. The agents are doing their best to provide for the migrants' needs, but the sheer volume of individuals makes it difficult to ensure everyone is properly cared for. The strain on Border Patrol resources also means that their primary mission of securing the border and preventing illegal crossings is compromised. With their attention focused on processing and detaining individuals, there is a significant gap in border security. This vulnerability poses a serious risk to national security, as it creates an opportunity for criminals and individuals with malicious intent to exploit the situation. The challenges faced by Border Patrol agents are immense, and they deserve recognition for their tireless efforts to maintain order and security. However, it is clear that a comprehensive solution is needed to address this crisis effectively. The border wall, designed to act as a deterrent and a physical barrier, has proven to be ineffective in certain areas. Migrants have discovered vulnerabilities and exploited them to gain unauthorized entry into the United States. One such method is climbing over the fences that line the border. These fences, meant to deter and prevent illegal crossings, are no match for the determination of those seeking to enter the country. They find ways to overcome the obstacles, risking their safety and freedom in the process. But it doesn't stop there. In some locations, migrants have resorted to cutting through the border wall itself. These individuals use tools and sheer force to create openings, allowing them to squeeze through and continue their journey into the United States. The patched up sections of the wall serve as a testament to their persistence. They cut through, someone patches it up, and they continue their journey. It's a cat and mouse game between the migrants and the authorities, with each side trying to outsmart the other. The impact of these breaches in the border wall goes beyond the immediate act of unauthorized entry. It raises serious concerns about the security of the border and the ability of authorities to effectively monitor and control the flow of individuals into the country. The breached sections of the border wall become vulnerable points, allowing not only migrants seeking a better life, but also individuals with malicious intent to enter the United States undetected. This poses a significant threat to national security and the safety of American citizens. The methods used by migrants to breach the border highlight the need for enhanced security measures and a comprehensive approach to border control. It is clear that relying solely on physical barriers is not enough to address the complexities of the border situation. The invasion. It is crucial to understand the reasons behind the surge of migrants crossing the U.S. southern border. The numbers have been steadily increasing, and the situation has reached a critical point. So what exactly is driving this influx? One significant factor is the changing landscape of migration rules and enforcement measures. Earlier this summer, the pandemic-era migration rules came to an end, and tougher enforcement measures were put in place. This initially led to a drop in numbers, but as time went on, the figures started climbing again. The border town of Eagle Pass, Texas, recently declared a state of emergency after nearly 6,000 migrants crossed the Rio Grande River from Mexico into the town of roughly 28,000 people in just 2 days. To put things into perspective, let's take a look at the numbers. In fiscal year 2022, Border Patrol encountered a staggering 2.2 million people crossing the border illegally. While the numbers have gone down in the fiscal year ending this month, with about 1.6 million encounters so far, they are still remarkably high. To find comparable numbers, we have to go back decades. From From 1990 to 2006, Border Patrol encounters consistently exceeded 1 million per year, reaching a peak of 1.6 million in 2000. However, the numbers began to decline after that. From 2010 to 2020, the agency recorded below 500,000 encounters per year, except for 2019, when they climbed to 859,501. It is important to note that statistics do not always provide a perfect measure of the situation. In the past, the numbers from the 1990s and 2000s were considered vast undercounts because migrants often evaded authorities as they entered the U.S. However, the current scenario is different. Migrants now often turn themselves in to request asylum, leading to a more accurate count. This change in behavior has contributed to the higher numbers we are witnessing today. Another factor that has influenced the numbers is the measures taken to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. The government heavily relied on a public health tool called Title 42, which allowed for the quick ejection of people from the country. However, there was no penalty associated with this measure, leading experts to believe that migrants returned again and again, thus inflating the statistics. The pandemic and the resulting restrictions have undoubtedly played a role in shaping the current situation. Now, let's take a closer look at the government's response to this influx of migrants. The Biden administration recently announced significant measures aimed at addressing the challenges posed by the invasion. One notable step was granting temporary protected status to an estimated 472,000 Venezuelans who arrived in the country as of July 31st. This decision makes it easier for them to work in the U.S., given that Venezuelans make up a large proportion of the people coming to the U.S. This change in their status has an outsized effect. In fact, in New York City, approximately 40% of the roughly 60,000 asylum seekers the city is paying to house are from Venezuela. The administration has also recognized the need to expedite the authorization process for migrants who are already eligible to work. This has been a key demand from Democratic governors and mayors who are grappling with the strain on resources. By addressing this issue, the government hopes to alleviate some of the pressure and provide migrants with the means to support themselves. However, critics argue that these measures are not enough and accuse the administration of doing little to control the southern border. They believe that stronger action should be taken to address the root causes of migration and ensure the security of the border. The debate surrounding this issue continues to intensify, with both sides presenting their arguments and advocating for their preferred solutions. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the majority of migrants coming to the U.S. were single adults. However, the situation has evolved, and now families with children make up a significant portion of those crossing the border. This shift in demographics has profound implications for the resources needed to support these migrants. While a single adult traveling by themselves may be able to rely on friends or relatives for temporary housing, families often have different needs and expectations. They seek more stable and secure accommodations for themselves and their children. This often means relying on government services to protect and support them during their transition. One critical aspect affected by the changing composition of the migrant population is education. Children need access to schools, and families arriving at the border with children are more likely to require government assistance to ensure their educational needs are met. This places an additional burden on the education systems of states like Texas and New York, where the influx of migrant families has been significant. Furthermore, advancements in communication technology have played a role in shaping the current situation. Migrants now have access to information through social media and other platforms, allowing them to easily share details about the best places to go and the available services. This information sharing has created a network that guides migrants toward specific locations, further impacting the resources of those areas. It is worth noting that many of the migrants crossing the border do not hide from the government. Some have been granted humanitarian parole or have a notice to appear in immigration court. This sense of empowerment and visibility may contribute to their willingness to ask for assistance and access the resources available to them. This in turn places additional strain on the systems designed to support migrants. Also, the impact of migrants being bused from the border to other cities has also been a topic of discussion. In 2022, Texas began busing migrants to Democrat-led cities across the country as a way to challenge the Biden administration's border policies. Arizona has also transported migrants out of state. While the numbers of migrants being bused are relatively small compared to the overall flow, these trips have had significant repercussions. Previously, migrants would spread across the U.S. organically and quietly after crossing the southern border. However, the busing scheme has brought migrants to specific cities in an orchestrated and visible manner, generating chaos and showcasing the challenges at the border. As the migrant crisis continues to escalate, cities across the United States are grappling with the challenges of accommodating the influx of asylum seekers. One city that has been particularly affected is New York City, a vibrant metropolis known for its diversity diversity and inclusivity. However, the city's ability to provide shelter, care, and support for the growing number of migrants has been stretched to its limits. New York City, with its large foreign-born population and unique right-to-shelter rules, has become a top destination for those seeking asylum. The city's reputation as a melting pot of cultures and opportunities has attracted migrants from all corners of the globe. However, the sheer volume of asylum seekers arriving in the city has overwhelmed its resources and strained its capacity to provide adequate support. Mayor Eric Adams and his administration have been grappling with the immense financial burden imposed by the migrant crisis. The city has already spent over $3 billion on the asylum crisis, and projections indicate that the cost will skyrocket to $12 billion over the next 3 years. This is a staggering amount for a city already facing budget constraints and limited federal assistance. The strain on resources is evident in the city's emergency shelters, such as the historic Roosevelt Hotel. Once a luxury hotel, it now serves as a temporary refuge for those seeking asylum. With over 1,000 rooms, the hotel provides a better accommodation option than what many other cities and towns can offer. However, even these emergency shelters are reaching their capacity, forcing some migrants to sleep on the streets. The situation has become so dire that Mayor Adams has taken legal action against the bus companies responsible for transporting migrants to the city. The lawsuit alleges that these companies violated New York state law by participating in a scheme devised by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The mayor accuses the bus companies of being complicit in shifting the cost of care from Texas to New York City. The companies are accused of acting in bad faith and profiting millions of dollars from the crisis. The mayor's lawsuit seeks to hold the bus companies accountable for their actions and to alleviate some of the financial burden on the city. The companies in question are being sued for over $700 million, a significant sum that reflects the scale of the crisis and the mayor's determination to seek justice. However, the legal battle is not without its challenges. Governor Abbott argues that all 33,000 asylum seekers brought to New York City came voluntarily and were aware that the city was their intended destination. He claims that the bus companies merely facilitated their travel and did not deceive or trick them into getting on the buses. Supporters of the governor's plans point out that the majority of asylum seekers arrived in the city without the help of buses from Texas, suggesting that there are other factors at play in attracting migrants to New York City. One such factor is New York City's right-to-shelter rules, which guarantee a place to stay and care for anyone who asks. This unique policy has made the city an attractive destination for asylum seekers, as it provides a measure of stability and support during the asylum process. However, the temporary nature of the accommodations poses challenges for the city. After leaving the shelters, migrants must go to a re-ticketing facility where they can either wait for another shelter bed to become available or accept a free plane ticket to any location in the world. This system, while intended to help migrants transition to a more suitable location, has been criticized for shifting the cost of care to other places. The strain on resources and the financial burden imposed by the migrant crisis have prompted Mayor Adams to explore various solutions. One option being considered is expanding the executive order that bans buses from operating outside of certain hours to include trains and planes. However, this presents significant challenges, as New York City has multiple entry points, including 2 train stations, 2 airports, and numerous bridges and tunnels. Policing all these entry points and preventing new arrivals by train or plane would be a massive undertaking. Is New York City doing the right thing by suing Texas bus companies? Will this legal battle fix New York's asylum crisis? The answers to these questions are far from clear-cut. The outcome of the lawsuit and the future of the asylum crisis in New York City will have far-reaching implications for both the city and the migrants seeking refuge within its borders. New York City has long been a magnet for people from all walks of life, drawn to its vibrant culture, economic opportunities, and diverse communities. It comes as no surprise that the city has become a top destination for asylum seekers. However, the reasons behind this preference and the challenges it presents are complex and multifaceted. One of the primary factors that make New York City an attractive destination for asylum seekers is its large foreign-born population. With an estimated 1 out of every 3 New Yorkers born outside of the United States, the city offers a sense of familiarity and a support network for those seeking refuge. The chance to connect with individuals who share a common language or cultural background is a significant draw for asylum seekers, providing a sense of belonging and community during a time of uncertainty. Another key factor is New York City's unique right-to-shelter rules. The city's commitment to providing temporary housing and care for anyone who asks has made it an appealing option for asylum seekers. Adults are allowed 30 days in a temporary shelter, while families have a 60-day limit before needing to reapply. While these accommodations may not be ideal, they offer a measure of stability and support during the asylum process. However, the temporary nature of these accommodations accommodations poses challenges for the city. After leaving the emergency shelters, migrants must navigate a re-ticketing facility where they can either wait for another shelter bed to become available or accept a free plane ticket to any location in the world. While this system aims to help migrants transition to a more suitable location, it has been criticized for shifting the cost of care to other places and potentially exacerbating the strain on resources in those areas. The strain on resources is a significant challenge that New York City faces in addressing the asylum crisis. The city has already spent over $3 billion on the crisis, and projections indicate that the cost will skyrocket to $12 billion over the next 3 years. This financial burden is simply too much for the city to bear, especially considering its existing budget constraints and limited federal assistance. The overwhelming numbers of asylum seekers have also put a strain on the city's emergency shelters. The historic Roosevelt Hotel, once a luxury establishment, now serves as one of the city's emergency shelters for those seeking asylum. With over 1,000 rooms, it provides a better accommodation option than what many other cities and towns can offer. However, even these emergency shelters are reaching their capacity, forcing some migrants to sleep on the streets. Live reporting from Lukeville. Let's go back to the moment when cameras captured something truly shocking. Human smugglers, with audacity beyond belief, cut a hole in the border wall and allowed a family to make their way through. It was a scene straight out of a movie. The situation in Lukeville shocks many. The cartels have found a way to use the border wall for their illegal activities. But what about the thousands waiting at the border? Who are they and what risks do they bring? Around 6,100 people gather near fires they've made, enduring tough conditions as they wait to cross. Waiting here can be really hard, with some enduring 2 to 3 days in these tough conditions. Families come first, and we've seen many of them crossing the border. The cartels know cutting holes in the wall helps people cross easily, and it also keeps Border Patrol busy. In Lukeville, they saw one of 3 cartel SUVs arrive. These vehicles usually work in the dark with no lights, but it's clear this is a well-planned operation. 8 people got out of the SUV, guided by smugglers, and went through the hole they made in the wall. Some migrants from Peru talked about their journey. Among them was an older man with one leg who needed help to get through. It reminded everyone of the desperation that makes people take such big risks. But what stood out was the talk with the smuggler. Even though he helped people through the wall, he said he wasn't part of the cartel or a coyote. He wouldn't show his face or say his name. Instead, he recorded the conversation, saying it was because of who the person was and what they looked like. It left a strange feeling, like stepping into a dangerous and weird world. Just a few hours later, the same group came back. This time, they made another hole in the wall, barely a football field away from the first one. They used electric saws, drills, and even brought a generator to do it. They're incredibly bold. As they stood there, teasing and laughing, it became clear this wasn't just a joke to them. It's a business driven by the border's weaknesses and people's desperation for a better life. Luckily, Border Patrol came and stopped them. But the game of cat and mouse goes on as the cartels keep finding new ways to exploit the border's weaknesses. The safety of both migrants and reporters on the ground is in danger. There are 6,100 people at the border who haven't been checked. We don't know anything about them, and they could be dangerous. It's a serious situation that needs action. As the morning comes in Lukeville, the urgency of the situation is clear. The fate of these people is uncertain, and the reporters face big challenges: safety concerns and human impact. The global epidemic of human trafficking has reached unprecedented levels. According to the International Labor Organization, an estimated 40.3 million people are trapped in modern-day slavery, with 25% of them being children. These staggering numbers paint a grim picture of the extent to which human lives are exploited for profit. One of the most disturbing aspects of human trafficking is the involvement of smugglers who operate with ruthless efficiency. These individuals, driven by greed and devoid of empathy, exploit the desperation of those seeking a better life. They lure unsuspecting victims with promises of safety and prosperity, only to subject them to unimaginable horrors. Imagine finding yourself in a cramped, suffocating container, surrounded by complete strangers as you are smuggled across borders. The air is thick with fear and uncertainty, and every passing moment feels like an eternity. This is the reality for countless individuals who fall victim to human trafficking. But it's not just the physical dangers that haunt the victims. The psychological trauma inflicted upon them is equally devastating. Many survivors of human trafficking suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and depression, struggling to rebuild their lives after enduring unimaginable abuse. The impact of human trafficking extends far beyond the individuals directly involved. It ripples through families, communities, and entire nations. The loss of human potential and the erosion of trust in our society are just some of the consequences we must confront. In addition to human trafficking, another pressing safety concern is the vulnerability of unaccompanied minors. These children, often fleeing conflict conflict or seeking a better life find themselves alone in a world that can be both hostile and indifferent. Imagine a young child separated from their family, navigating treacherous terrain and facing the constant threat of exploitation. They are exposed to violence, abuse, and the risk of falling into the hands of traffickers. The sheer vulnerability of these unaccompanied minors is a stark reminder of the urgent need for comprehensive protection measures. The stories of these children are heart-wrenching. They endure unimaginable hardships, yet their resilience and determination to survive are awe-inspiring. Organizations and individuals around the world are working tirelessly to provide support and ensure their safety. But the magnitude of the challenge cannot be underestimated. It is crucial that we shine a light on these safety concerns and human impact, for only through awareness can we begin to address the underlying issues. By understanding the shocking realities and the profound consequences, we can come together as a global community to protect the vulnerable and create a safer world for all. The devastating consequences of environmental disasters, the intersection of human activity and the environment, has far-reaching implications for our safety and well-being. One of the most notorious environmental disasters in recent history is the Chernobyl nuclear accident. In April 1986, a catastrophic explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine released a massive amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere. The immediate impact was devastating, with the explosion claiming the lives of 2 plant workers and causing acute radiation sickness in many others. But the true extent of the disaster became apparent in the following years. The radioactive fallout spread across vast areas, contaminating land, water, and air. The long-term effects on human health were profound, with an increase in cancer rates, birth defects, and other radiation-related illnesses. The tragedy of Chernobyl serves as a haunting reminder of the potential dangers posed by nuclear power and the importance of stringent safety measures. Another environmental concern that poses a significant threat to human safety is climate change. The consequences of a warming planet are far-reaching and impact every aspect of our lives. Rising temperatures, extreme weather events, and rising sea levels all contribute to a heightened risk of natural disasters. Take, for example, the increasing frequency and intensity of hurricanes. These powerful storms wreak havoc on coastal communities, causing widespread destruction and displacing thousands of people. The vulnerability of these communities is further exacerbated by inadequate infrastructure and limited resources to cope with the aftermath of such disasters. In addition to the immediate dangers posed by natural disasters, climate change also has long-term implications for public health. The spread of infectious diseases such as malaria and dengue fever is closely linked to changing climate patterns. Rising temperatures create favorable conditions for disease-carrying vectors, putting communities at risk. Furthermore, climate change disproportionately affects marginalized communities and exacerbates existing social inequalities. Those living in poverty, lacking access to resources and infrastructure, are often the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. This highlights the urgent need for equitable solutions that prioritize the safety and well-being of all individuals, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Enjoyed the video? Crave more excitement? Stay tuned by clicking on any of the cards on your screen right now for more thrilling content. See you next time.